welcome everybody and good evening. Thanks for joining us in this session on Voices from the Syrian Academic Community. This session is about the Syrian Humming Project. My name is Lisa Boden. I'm a professor of population medicine and veterinary public health policy based at the University of Edinburgh and based at the Global Academy of Agriculture and Food Security. This project, the Syrian Food Futures Project, is part of, or the Syrian Humming Project is actually part of a larger project called the Syrian Food Futures Project, which we spoke about earlier today in the session, if you caught it this afternoon. I'm going to introduce this session and introduce Dr. Suk-Jun Kim, who's going to speak a little bit more and introduce the rest of the session partners. But before I do, I wanted to make a few remarks just to set the scene and situate this project in that broader context. The Syrian Food Futures Project was a GCRF-funded project that was held between the Universities of Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Kent, and the Cara Syria Programme. It was part of the One Health Field Network, which was based at the University of Edinburgh, which is a network, a multidisciplinary network of academics that are both Syrian and UK academics working in the area of food security. The aim of the Syrian Food Futures Project was to strengthen partnerships between Edinburgh and Cara Syria and increase collaboration between universities in Turkey and Syria, as well as with local NGOs, INGOs, and others in order to improve transdisciplinary foresighting approaches to look at the role of different cultures of expertise in decision-making. And the project as a whole combined knowledge and expertise from the arts and humanities, which is the area that this session is going to cover, and in particular looked at music, history, literature, and anthropology, as well as social sciences, food systems, and agriculture, in order to answer questions about the future of food security. This is fundamental if we're to improve linkages between cultural practices of resource use and socioeconomic outcomes, and increase the awareness of cultural norms and power asymmetries which exist and influence short and long-term decision-making processes in fragile and conflict-affected states. The Syrian Food Futures Project had three major dimensions. It looked at collective memory, and it then situated the current context of food security in the current year that we were doing the project, and then it looked to the long-term future. And in this particular element of the project, we were particularly interested in examining the felt experience of food insecurity, as well as trying to understand both technical and social interventions which might try to appease that. So with that introduction aside, I'd like to now introduce Dr. Suk-Jun Kim. Dr. Kim is a Korean sound artist and academic who's living in Scotland. His research focuses on sound studies, immersive sound, phenomenological approaches to the aesthetics of electroacoustic music, space, and place. Dr. Kim is a senior lecturer in the electroacoustic music and sound art, and he's director of postgraduate research at the University of Aberdeen. And with that, I'd like to hand the floor to Dr. Kim to take over this session. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. So I'm going to share a screen. Thanks, Cara, and also thanks, Lisa. Also, thanks the whole team. I know that there's a whole bunch of technical teams and also translators are working fearlessly to make things all smooth and nice. And thanks to everyone. And thanks for those who are joining us, whoever you are. I'm here in the UK. It's now 6 p.m., a little bit after 6 p.m., but depending on who you are, probably this might be really late at night or early in the morning. In this, hopefully maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, depending on how it goes, I would like to introduce you to a project called Syrian Humming Project. As Lisa mentioned that this Syrian Humming Project is a part of a research project called the Syrian Food Futures. Then I will, in time, I will give you the further details and the background and a related project, my previous project that led to this Syrian Humming Project in detail. But for now, what I would like to do is that I would like to give you a quick summary of what this Syrian humming project aim to do, and then how we went out and we went and did this project. So let me just one. Syrian humming project basic aim is to collect songs and tunes that are connected or related to food in the broadest sense by Syrian communities, and asking Syrian communities to not actually sing but hum those tunes and songs, and then we collect them as many as possible. And once we collect those hums and along the way, the another sound materials that we wanted to collect was the soundscapes that surround those communities. For example, like the soundscapes in the kitchen, soundscapes in the field, soundscapes in the the household or the outside field, and all of those the sound materials will be collected as part of this crowdsourced hums. Initially, what we wanted to do was to visit the Syrian communities in Turkey and Lebanon and Jordan, and I was really looking forward to those visits. But then the COVID happened in early 2000. Everything got locked down, and we won't be able to do it. So after a few trial and errors, we end up doing is two things. On the one hand, we got a lot of help from the colleagues, researchers who are embedded in those communities and who knows these communities, and also friends who live in those communities, and see if they can collect those hums themselves and then collect those soundscapes for us. So we end up getting quite a lot of hums and soundscapes from that way. The another way that we got these hums and soundscapes was through the another kind of the spin-off project as a part, not part of the, but a spin-off project from the Syrian Field Features called From the Field. And From the Field is my understanding is a crowdsourced crowdsourced the video diaries that we were able to collect again from colleagues and friends and the people who were in the communities in the early period of the COVID lockdown. And those materials were also extremely important for this Syrian humming project, because those video diaries did not only contain the video materials, images, but also contain really rich sound materials that we could use. So those hums and soundscapes were collected, and then the next process was to for me as a sound artist to respond those hums, and we will in a short time we will listen to not only those hums and sound, but also these hums that I have made. These 10 humming compositions or pieces are my responses to the hums and soundscape that were collected through the help of these colleagues and friends. You will be able to listen to not all of them, but some of the hums that in this session. And my responses are, you could say, in a way, completely from the other. The reason being is because of being a South Korean who never been into Lebanon or Turkey, let alone Syria. Before I went to Turkey in 2019. That was my first time. So the culture and collective memories, histories, narrative, and stories about food and their humming and their tunes and sounds are quite new to me. So my only way to respond to those hums and the soundscapes were through what I think we can call artistic sensitivity or sensibility, being open to the sound that were gathered it, by friends, and by listening to those hums in a really open and the empathetic way. I think I'd be able to produce these 10 short humming pieces. Then the project did not end there. If it were to end there, then it'll be a unilateral approach, meaning that we would just collect hums from those communities, and I will make some responses, and that's it. But there was never our intention. Our intention was to have these responses to be mutual and continually growing. So in order for that to be initiated, we shared these 10 humming compositions to Syrian artists and asking them to come up with their own responses based on their own artistic practice. So these are second responses by Syrian artist a output to these 10 pieces were then collected and then presented as part of this project, which we are going to listen to and watch a bit later. The Syrian Humming Project has, as you can imagine, many partners. As I mentioned before, that there are so many people who have helped us to collect hums and soundscapes. We are so without their help, this project would not have happened. But more importantly, while early in the stage of this, the developing this project, I had a really good partnership with the organization called Artia Istanbul, and Omar Berakdar, who is the founder of this organization, is here with us. And not only him, we also have 2 artists who have given their response to the 10 hums, the Syrian artist, and then they are also joining here in this session. So I'm going to right now I'm going to introduce those 3 people. So Omar Berakdar is the founder of Art here Istanbul. He is a Syrian photographer and media artist who also received a training in media art history at Donau University in Krems, Austria. He co-curated and took part in many artistic projects in Syria and Turkey, where he arrived in 2012. Omar is a collector of photographic heritage, as well as involved in preservation of photographic heritage within the MAPI project. And we have 2 Syrian artists. I will introduce first Cara Kayat. Cara Kayat is a graphic designer and visual artist from Damascus, Syria. Her work primarily centers on women's issues, identities, and forced disappearance in Syrian prisons, as well as children in devastated areas in Syria. She fights for her causes and explores herself and her identity through drawing personal experiences and visually documenting memories. And we have a Hadi Hamdoun, who is a Syrian musician who is now lives in the Istanbul, Turkey. So I will hand over to Omar. Omar can maybe introduce further about his organization Art Istanbul, and then maybe two artists as well.
Thank you, Jun. Thank you, Lisa. I'm very glad to have the opportunity to represent this great project, which was initially started since 2019, where we had big ambitions to have an exhibition in public places to show all this brilliant idea to the public. We were thinking in public transportation like metro stations, but of course, beginning of 2020, we had to reconsider the whole concept because of COVID, of course. So then after, as June introduced to me those first 10 hums, he did it at the beginning. For me, as a reaction, was like humming, is it really exists in Syria? Do we do humming? For me, was the first time I see this draw attention to importance of this, because of course there was a lot, but we were not aware of it, and we were not aware of how it's happening. Listening to those hums kind of made me look more and more when we do humming and how we do humming. For us, when I came to Istanbul 2012, in a way, one of the biggest challenge is that you don't have your familiar sounds you hear around you in your own country. You start with a new life. You start to listen to new language constantly around you. And this is kind of at the beginning, very foreign language. And can this bring a lot of fear, a lot of will or desire to stay away from the crowd because of this. And always everybody was looking for familiar sounds, for things that usually here they can recognize. In 2014, I established an art center, Art Here Istanbul, with the main aim to have a place where we concentrate on art and artistic production, but to help artists who were forced to exile, who they choose to move to another place, and they were newly coming without any knowledge or kind of planning for their coming. So we had started in this center, which we call it Art Center, Art Residency, and Art Community. We started this community to collect all people who are interested in art to be kind of in the same place and the same also sometimes shoes of where the artists from conflict zone escaped in Turkey. We were at the beginning starting with us, with the Syrians, but then we discovered that there's a lot of cases where actually what's happening to us, happening to other artists from other places of the world. So it became more kind of place to meet and talk. So this idea was very important to be highlighted. We did, as June said, we did the call for participation, but again, there wasn't a lot of our artists in our community. They go back to me with question about they did not really understood what is this project. So we had to show them and explain to them, and then the responses were amazing. I was really was satisfied and happy about how these artists, even for me as a Syrian, they opened my eye to topics, memories from like when you hum, let's say song, but actually one of the responses was humming of an introduction in a radio station back in the 70s and 60s. And there's no way nobody not know it, especially from old generation. And also like there was kind of memories in different phases. And not only the relation to the memory of the also songs or music, but sometimes sounds as we talking about cooking, and so some particular sound where it's not familiar for cooking in other places, like when you make cakes, then you use this wooden mold to hit on and immediately when you hear this sound, you can immediately smell the cookies getting baked in the oven. There's a lot of, this is a very wide and big topic. And for me, all kind of with arts here, with all the community and artists of art here, we found it very important to make this connection between research and social work with artistic work. We often, people have some kind of reaction to art shows where they say, oh, maybe we understand, or we do not understand, we're artists, we're not artists. I like this type of work, artistic work, because it's closed this gap. People will come and listen to this humming, then they will immediately, with the sound, with the memory, with the visual, and also with the talent of the artist, how they represent those humming, they will immediately take them to read more about the topic. And this was, for me, in a very good way and very important role where we were very happy to take it. Maybe we move, June, to, I think maybe it's time for our audience to have a sense of those humming from the second response. Maybe we do one humming and then we continue.
Thanks, Omar. Yes. So what we will do is that as I mentioned, we do have two artists who responded to the humming pieces with us, and maybe when we get to the point where we can where we introduce their work, they can join us and then give us a little bit more about their ideas. So. I will now share the screen of this web page we have developed for this project. A little bit of the other, well, it's not a secret because it's already there here, but I think that when Lisa and Omar and myself and the whole Syrian Food Futures team, when we were designing this particular Syrian humming project in mid 2019, we didn't expect it to be a online version. What we wanted to do is to collect the hums, as many hums as possible, and then play those hums back to the communities where we have collected. It can be either in an exhibition, physical exhibition in a certain place, or it can be some kind of portable way of presenting hums, putting the not actually taking, but collecting those hums, curating, and then playing them back to the community. Because that's what I have been doing for my other humming project, and that was the initial idea. Obviously, as Omar also mentioned, that the COVID has changed everything, like many other research projects, and we had to adapt to our initial idea and what would be the best way to present those hums, but still keeping the idea of returning those hums back to the community where we have collected. So so hence that we have this website as a kind of an online exhibition space. So you can for now, those of you who are joining us in this session, we all can watch my screen together, and I'm going to play these hums and pieces that together we can listen to them together. But in another time, I strongly suggest that you visit this website. This is just one word, SyrianHummingProject.com. And then I also strongly suggest to watch listen to those hums with headphones, because I will explain to you a bit later. Some of the pieces are made very specifically for headphones. I will explain a bit later about the technology bit. So we will start with the Syrian humming. This is the collection stage, collection and listening to those hums at low state, so as little intervention as possible. So if we click this, and then you will get to listen to the little bit of the about the background, those hums, and then on the right side you will have this graphic representation of those hums. By the way, each representation of these small icons, these are actually called sonograms. Those the frequency and time representation of those small bits of the sounds, and these are individually not complete hums or songs, because otherwise it will be too long. So what I did was I cut each songs into a few bits, and so hence why when you listen to those small bits, sometimes you get to hear the same tunes in different places, not same tune in the same portion, but same tune in different section are dispersed in throughout. So we can listen to some of them, and so we can listen to some of them, and then I will give you my responses.
كنت أنا نايمة يا قضامي مغبرة، كنت أنا نايمة يا قضامي مغبرة، كنت أنا نايمة.
هيهات يسلو الموطن، هيهات يسلو الموطن، هيهات.
الصلاة والسلام عليكم، الصلاة والسلام عليكم. خلقت من الحديد أشد بأسا، فني الحديد وما فنيت.
لا مالي ولا أولادي على حبك ما في حبيب، لا مالي.
يابا شو سويت معاهم ذنب، أني شو سويت معاهم ذنب، يابا شو. والبدا حاصد بدا القط يما، وبدا ماسك ثدايا يما، والبدا حاصد.
الصلاة والسلام الله.
يا مسليني يلي بنار الهجر كويني. الله محيي شوارعك يا بلادنا المعمورة، الله محيي شوارعك يا بلادنا المعمورة.
You can I literally been spending how many hours just so I'm the one prepared all these materials, and I'm the one who put the website, but and also as I mentioned before, I'm a South Korean. I have no idea. I have no idea what those lyrics are. I have no idea what those hums are, tunes are. But something that is very very universal about hummings and tunes listened in this way. It's it's very intimate, and it's common that you tend to smile when you listen to those hums. I'm sure that some of the tunes are very emotional, and maybe if you know the background a little, the lyrics, and they will make you swell up some tears, and you become quite emotional. I think that there are some tunes out there. But one thing that I always felt that quite compelling and powerful about humming is that it somehow combines us as a community. And I think that that's the, I think it might, from my perspective, I think that's the ultimate aim for Syrian Humming Project. By collecting those hums from people, and then sharing those hums back to people. And here, when I mean by people, it's not only Syrian people, but people who have ears can listen to them together. And we don't need to know the lyrics, but you know that there are people who hum. They have their voice and they have their presence, and we can listen to them. I think that that's the quite powerful aspect about humming. So this is the first part of the Syrian Humming Project. And as I mentioned before, if you visit this humming project, it's like I'm selling product. But if you visit this project and listen to it, just like I have done myself, you can literally spend hours just listening bits of hums and again, and thinking about the people, thinking about the stories, and thinking about imaginary, for me at least, imaginary places and imaginary stories and so on. So once we have these hums collected, and as an sound artist and composer myself, I had to respond. So, but also when I was thinking about how I'm going to respond to this. And one good thing about the Syrian Humming Project was that I had this scope. The scope was as a research questions and ideas, and then the hopes and wishes that we developed together with all the researchers under this big research project called Syrian Food Futures. So my responses to these homes were initially about how I can bring up and then have the Syrian people's their voice, Syrian people's voice and their stories and their presence emerge through some of the pieces that I can create using the hums that we have collected. So these are the 10 hum pieces, and if for those who know a little bit about the composition genre, if you can call it genre, electroacoustic music or electronic music in the academic field, and you will realize that these 10 hum pieces, they are not heavily processed. Often the materials are presented intact without much editing in advance. That's of course intentional. These hums are given to us as a gift, as their wish to share their voice and their stories. So we have, so of course I have to respond to these hums in the most honorable way possible. So that's one of the reasons why I think that when I was dealing with these hums as materials, I wanted to make sure that I do not do heavy editing. I will try to present hums as original as possible, but by giving hums a place, by giving hums a story, and by giving hums and then people who given these hums a companion, if you will. So it's not lonely anymore, something like that. So I had a lot of thoughts about this, many different ideas while working on this 10 Syrian humming pieces. Along with it, you can see that there are some quotes. Here, for example, good evening, how are you doing? What's up tonight? I would like to cook kapsa. I washed the chicken well, and I did add in something. So these quotes and these images are taken from a kind of sister project titled From the Field. So these are the crowdsourced video diaries that people from the Syrian communities and Syrian refugee camps and other places, they contribute to our project. And these quotes and these images are from them. So that I think that really nicely contextualized these 10 home pieces. So I'm going to play one piece out of the 10 pieces, and one thing about the the technical aspect. These 10 home pieces are best listened to using headphones. The reason being is that if you remember, I mentioned that one of the approaches of when I was composing these pieces is to give hums a place, to give hums a companion. To do that, I have to place those hums in so-called 3D virtual space. So in order for this to work best, you have to use headphones. In that way, you can listen to the sound because these pieces were generated in a technology called binaural techniques. So binaural rendition, meaning that it would work best if you wear headphones. Probably I should put some there along the way. But I'm going to play this first piece, and then we'll move on to the second and the final one, which we'll be talking about. Yes, so that's the one of the 10 humming pieces. My response is to the hums that we have collected. Now, I would like to talk briefly about the second responses. This is where I will invite Omar and Sarah and Hadi to the discussion. As I mentioned that if I was the only one who to respond to these hums and that'll be it, then the project would not have any significance. It wouldn't make sense. Just like the many other humming pieces that I have done, was the basic idea is to collect the hums and bring those hums back to the community. It needs to be the cycle of responses need to be mutual. So we opened these 10 humming pieces and invited a Syrian artist with the help of RTO Istanbul and Omar, and we commissioned in the end all 6 artists, and there we selected their pieces, their responses. Omar and I felt that those are one of the best pieces, the best responses we have received, and now we have presented here. At this point, and what we will do is that, how about I will should I bring Omar and Hadi? Oh no. Yes, I will stop, and then I will hand over to Omar, and Omar will lead the second responses, and we'll go from there.
So, as June said, like the second response was different of the first one. These responses were more kind of with discussion with the artist, and it was with more free choice of the response. So it wasn't needed to be as a sound, could be visual, could be any other way the artists would choose. And even we had a lot of discussion, and we have a lot of talk with the artists within our community. That's how we can, what does it mean, this humming idea? And maybe, I don't know if you've noticed, there's not as many who just say humming like, there was more kind of humming with the words. And that is more common, where we usually hum songs, whether around the food or in other occasions. So this kind of memories we have, it was very hard to represent kind of why should you, this kind of memory in the back about humming. And when we speak about humming, let's say more in the Syrian context, I would say, since I'm a photographer, work with photography, I would say black and white between color, as if you're going and looking on the black and white photography. You're really immediately going back into your memory, and then you're connecting. Then you're trying to position yourself where are you here, especially for people who are not in their own home. They remember these songs, as June pointed, that's with a lot of passion, and maybe they would, I would say, would really bring back memories and hope for kind of these memories will bring good and go back maybe in a way or another. So here I would maybe first let Hadi, we'll listen to Hadi humming response, and I would, let's say, after we listen to it, maybe Hadi can explain what was his feeling, reaction, or why this response was this way.
Hadi?
Yeah, so hello everyone. I'm just gonna introduce myself first. So my name is Hadi, and I'm an oud player. I studied music in Syria in Homs, in Al-Bas University, as an oud player. So if I want to talk about what I did here in this like lovely project, I was really happy that I celebrate that with you. But actually, first of all, like when I first seen the post on Facebook from Archie page about the project, I totally didn't understand anything. Like I like, what is this exactly? But and later, like Sarah even sent me the link, and she said like, hey, you should be there, you should do something there. But also, like I told her, I just don't understand what is the project, what is the real meaning of the project. And so last time when I visited, like after that, I visited Art here, I mean, and I meet Omar, and as he said, we start talking about the project and like, hey, you should do something, and this is a project, and they start explain what we need exactly from that. But later on, I went home and I started thinking about this idea specifically, like humming. What is that mean? Okay, I would say I can understand the idea, but at the same time, it was something that all of us do. I mean, everybody do it when you are cooking or when you are doing anything else, like just chilling. Sometimes you whispering, you sing. So it was for me. I mean, it was for me like the relationship between humans and music as a musician perspective. I mean, so for me, the music, it's for everyone. You cannot say that this is music or this is not, like, you know, I mean, my dad, when he's humming, he's making his own music, like his so this was my interest about the idea of humming. Then I started to build on the idea of track from the scene that always happen with me when you are outside on crowded place, and I just see oud like an example somewhere, and I start playing. So you just go from where you are, and you start forget exactly what is going around you, and go deep in you on your own imagination and in your own memory, and that hard memory that we're carrying with us all the time since we start the revolution. I mean, since everything, since the war started in Syria, and all the I don't know, all that problems that happened back there, and you've seen a lot of stuff in your own eyes. So for me, it was like an expression of situation I've been a lot on when I'm just trying to play oud, and the thing just go out of my hand, if that makes sense. And just I let my imagination try to play. So I went to my friend. He have a small studio, like home studio record, and we recorded the song. This me was playing oud, and I was also singing, and we start building the track, and yeah, that's what comes in the end. So
Yeah, that was really nice. And it's like the experience, and it's not only the humming, also this background sound which is part of the humming. This is the atmosphere. You can't even listen to this humming without this. Usually they come together, and this is part of the memory. That's also, in a lot of cases, that's the humming do not happen when you're alone or at home. It's most of the time, maybe also in Syria, maybe because there's big family, or if not big family, there will be always friends at home. There's always lots of noise. So it is part of the whole thing. So maybe June, or let's me talk about June, are we going to play all of them? So
yes, yes. The plan is that because these are all short pieces, I would like to play all of them. So next we can maybe you can maybe discuss the holy food.
yes.
Yeah.
So actually, Ammar also, he's working more on his movies. He's always he always have his musical instrument, but at the same time he work more on movies. And for him, it's as we were talking before, that's not the music itself, what is like can be considered humming for him, but it's the sound of the cooking, the cutting, the atmosphere, and this is can go and play in his head. Recently, he even did a film, and we displayed it in RT Istanbul. It's all about this sounds and feeling where you can, which can make music can stick and stay in your mind, in your memory, and take you to another place, as Hadi was explaining.
الله أكبر الحمد لله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله الله أكبر استغفر الله سبحان الله والحمد لله والحمد لله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله أكبر سبحان الله العظيم سبحان العظيم سبحان الله والحمد سبحان الله سبحان الله لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وبحمده سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان العظيم الله أكبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الحمد لله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله سبحان قدير قدير سبحان الله سبحان الله العظيم 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 سبحان ربي العظيم العظيم وبحمده سبحان وبحمده لا إله إلا الله ولا إله إلا الله سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان العظيم سبحان لا إله إلا الله ولا إله إلا الله سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان العظيم سبحان وبحمده سبحان وبحمده سبحان الله لا إله إلا الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان وبحمده سبحان وبحمده سبحان العظيم
Yes, so I think we all also got the sense of the holy food, where actually Ammar was using the background and this process of making the food, which is holy because of what's bring back from memories and what's can stay in the minds when you grow up, or also for children. Then we move to Burhan al-Khatib, who also a Syrian artist who passed to Istanbul. He was with us for a long time, for like years, then recently moved to France, where he is now studying music professionally. But before, he was all back in Damascus in one of those Sufi traditional music practicing, where they play music as a kind of, it's a whole kind of, let's say, part of Sufi, where how they play music and the using of the sound of the voice in also holy ceremonies and also in life in general. So it was more kind of involved about the things related to the memory, what you always hear, because those kind of songs, also Sufi songs, like what Ammar used, those kind of traditional songs where all generation were listening to them. But for Burhan, he chose something from a radio about a program, and was famous, for example, in the Syrian television, was broadcasted every Monday for years and years and years, and it was a popular program. And this response of Burhan was about this music of this radio, of course, with manipulation from him, to also to highlight the history of this particular music, which isn't for me. When he played it for me, it was, wow, this is really how we can realize by the work of Burhan, how we can really connect to our past and how we can understand for the future how these memories develop for us and for others. We listen to it together.
ويبقى جوهر I don't know, June, does like in Korea, there's a kind of tone of or music where immediately bring you back to a program in the radio. You can immediately think of the 60s, 50s because you hear that tone.
Oh yes, of course.
Okay.
That's universal.
That's universal. That's what Burhan was trying to do. Then we move to Nermin. She did not explain a lot because it's more emotional response for her, and maybe let's hear it.
كبرت البنوت كبرت ست الكل صار بدها تتزوج تتركني وتفل كبرت بدموع العين كبرت بالنقد وبالدين يجي واحد مدري منين ياخدها وبيفل
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
So also amazing response. What I like a lot about Nermeen response is how, as a mother, like she take the position of a mother thinking to the child while she's the child and growing fast to be a mother. How life is going so fast, especially maybe also in Syria and what's people been to, for what been women been to, how they are a child, then became a mother, and they had this responsibility. Is this kind of double response was really touching from Nermeen response. Also, this is, we listened to Rodi, and her response is more about, let's say, modern history of Syria, where the Feiruz song were the dominating songs. Yeah. In the response, there's more kind of absence of the original song. Is more about the hummings dominating to describe the, what do you call it, the memory, disturbance or struggle in a shape of humming. Now we move to Sarah, and we're glad that she's here with us. Hi, Sarah. So we'll leave the microphone to you.
Hello, do you hear me? مسموع الصوت تمام. Yeah, do you hear me well? If you can confirm.
Yes, if you are talking.
مسموع الصوت. تفضل. My name is Sara Khayyat. I studied graphic design and I moved to Turkey in 2015. This project was the best project I have worked on for a long time, because in the beginning it was surprising, it was shocking for me, especially when Omar sent me a link and I played it. And what was the sound that was humming was, I had a very strange, a weird feeling. I felt that I wanted to cry because it was similar to a song that my mom used to sing to me. Then I was very happy when I got involved, because it was the only project that I was able to work on, because it was dealing with us as a humans. It's not dealing with us as numbers. There was always emotions involved, and that's what I always tried to deliver in my drawings. Then I tried to focus on what do I feel when I was listening to it, because I repeated it over and over and over. And I remembered that once the psychological counselor asked me if I have any memory about something. I didn't remember that time, but now I recall when I hear these voices, a house that I used to visit when I was a little kid, and we used to do or to make the sweets of the Eid festival with nuts and dates. My grandfather and mother were there, and they used to sing to us, tell us stories. I was really happy when this project came out, because in this drawing we have a lot of things that represent a memory for a lot of Syrians, and a lot of the comments that I received, that you made us cry and smile at the same time. For example, the carpet, the painting on the wall, the heater, uh, and it's very important for Syrians. When they look at the tiny details of the picture, they understand what is this. And the people that I have drawn on the picture, they are my neighbors, and they died as I am in Turkey, so I didn't have the chance to cry them. And I felt that this project was an opportunity to do that, and to give them value, and to thank them to everything that they have provided for my life. So all the time I was choosing their clothes. And when I was working on this drawing, I was shutting down any device in the house, trying to interact with the characters in this picture, and to get the feeling that I didn't feel when they died, because it was really shocking for me. That's it. Thank you very much for this project. I told Omar at the time that it was one of the nicest projects that I have ever worked on.
Thank you, Sarah. That was really touching, and your participation was really very important one. Maybe, June, if we can listen to the music coming, the sound coming with Sarah's.
Oh yes. This is the Eid song that she shared with us. This is from the YouTube.
Yeah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر كبيرا
Yeah, I
والحمد
think
لله
it's
كثيرا
okay.
وسبحان الله وبحمده.
So actually, just to, this is all this, like the atmosphere is this kind of the Eid after fasting and the last day where people are allowed to eat the whole day. So you have Ramadan, you have 30 days where people do not eat and drink the whole day, only they eat after sunset. Then you have this day where this is the Eid, or this is the celebration of ending of this month, where you wake up in the people actually wake up 2-3 o'clock in the morning to start cooking for baking for the cookies, because they're going to go all and distribute this cooking in all the neighborhood. And so this was a way of showing love by giving food, hot food, homemade food. And then, like for us children, where we were really young, and then we listen, they oblige us to wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, and we start listening to this special type of azan announcing the Eid from the mosque. So it's not about religion, it's more about this common memory, where everybody remember the same sound, and they mean something for them. They mean the family, maybe lots of security. Like maybe this sound, for example, at the beginning of the revolution, all spontaneously, all mosque in, let's say, in Damascus, where I was, they were starting to do small azan. It's not about religion. It wasn't praying time. It was more to give more feeling of security by letting you listen to this sound. So it's really mean a lot, and the drawing added a lot of meaning to this. June, I leave to you now.
Okay, thank you, Omar, and thank you, Hadi and Sarah, but also thank you those who Syrian artists who could not join us this time. So if we go back to the Syrian Humming project, so far you can see that we have a Syrian Humming collections, and then our first responses, and then now you have listened to second responses. You can see that this is not a complete project. So we are preparing the third responses at the moment right now. So as soon as those are ready, it'll be announced here, and you can imagine that there'll be we hope that there'll be a lot of responses after responses and after responses and so on. So on that note, I will conclude our presentation, and I will hand back to Lisa.
Thank you, June. I just want to say thank you to all of the presenters this evening. Special thanks to June and Omar and Hadi and Sarah. They're very beautiful things that you've shared, and I feel that there's a number of things that I might want to reflect on. We have a little bit of time to address some questions from the audience, but I probably wanted to start by thanking you for sharing things that are so personal, which I think with all of us. One of the things that you said, June, that was really struck me, and as you know, we've worked together on this project in a larger context, and my background comes from a completely different disciplinary domain than you, and I think It's been really interesting to work in this collaborative way across different disciplinary boundaries. One of the things that you said, which really struck me, is you called them sonograms, and the little and I was thinking about what that means to me as somebody who comes from a clinical background in terms of a sonogram as an echo, isn't it? It's some sound bouncing in that allows you to see something that you can't otherwise see inside a person from a clinical perspective. And I think that somehow you've managed to capture that. And there's something about the way that you've and Omar and others here have talked about this as being a dialogue, which I think is really quite beautiful. So I'm interested to hear a little bit more about that third response and whether or not it will respond to the second. You're continuing that conversation. But do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that? And then I'll come to some specific questions, because there's been some technical questions that I think you might find interesting, but also some broader ones about general ways of working. Do you want to comment on that idea of an echo first? And
Yes. So yes, I will respond to the idea of echo, and then I will respond to the third responses that we are working on, and maybe Omar can maybe add to that third response that we are working on together. So the idea of echo, that's a really interesting idea. I haven't thought about this when I was preparing for this sonogram, but you're right. There are multiple kind of points that we can tease out and think about. Humming, as I mentioned in the beginning, humming is really, if you think about humming is a really interesting practice, because you have to close your mouth and then hum. Most of sounds are going back to your body, and as I mentioned, it's resonating within your body. Instead of you are opening your mouth and then sing it, and then the idea is that you project the voice outward. Humming is the other way around. It's almost like a sonic mirror to yourself. If you look at the mirror, then you see yourself. That's visual. Humming is, in a way, is sonic mirroring. So you in order to listen to yourself, you have to close your mouth, and then you get to hear yourself singing. That kind of sonic mirror and that resonating element is quite interesting. And if you bring that idea into more philosophical or maybe conceptual level, then you can think of humming as a community who hum, people who hum. We are making sounds and resonating our communities, our societies, and that aspect is also quite interesting one. And that's something that we are hoping to continue with the Syrian Humming project. So if that answers your question, that's a really interesting aspect. Talking about their third responses, yes. Initially, the Syrian Humming project started as part of the Syrian Food Futures, because we believed this is when we started, this was a pure belief, because we didn't know that's going to happen. We believed that humming would bring us the memories of food. And then the memories of people surrounding food that could not be easily explored. So humming would be a way to do this. And there was a kind of premise that based upon we approached this project. And I think we realized that it was possible to do this way. So the first response and then second response, as you can see and hear from the response, is that we were able to commemorate the memories surrounding the food and so on. And the third responses were, we are hoping to broaden up the idea of humming, as I mentioned, like this humming as a intimate but also a collective tapping in kind of method with which we can gather and share a personal and collective memories in somehow. So we are currently commissioning 5 Syrian artists who are doing the visual art and the photography and filmmaking and podcasting and I'm missing one more. Yes. Anyway, 5 Syrian artists will be tackle with using their own artistic practice, tackle the issue of the hidden stories, forgotten stories, the stories that we'd like to have them heard, and then once we have this the project ready and done, and then we are going to present it. I hope that answers some of your questions, because this is quite early phase, and maybe Omar, you can add to quite a lot of things I might have missed.
Yes, actually, we hope that the third response will be more wide into what the meaning, what those sounds means. And as we say, we do not define sounds as only as a sound, as a reflection, as an echo, as a video, as an image, as a collective memory. And again, like there's this kind of multi-layer in the memory where some aspects it's like if the song is religious, doesn't mean that the response is religious, but it's from the collective memory. I don't know if you understand me. Like in Syria, we would, for example, there would be, was an Islamic Eid festival, but for example, all the Christian who in Syria, they would also respond to the same sounds, same way as we respond. Where when we play it, we're not playing it on a religion level, it's more about social, and we want to expand on that. I think we think this is very faithful to this artist or invitation for artists to work. It's go beyond research or definition of a specific, let's say, habit or practice. No, it's more about the expression, about what those artists want to reveal about the meaning of humming in their life. Also, like in Ammar, meaning was more, any type of food for him was like more like holy practice, not for him holy practice, but he looked at it as a holy. He was wondering why this is so much holy, this practice. So it is this distance and also echo of your, it's very much related to memory and to safety and to even dark places in your memory, but that can also be tackled or response to with this positive kind of let's go energy. It's very much kind of relaxing to listening to this humming, especially I'm lucky I know that's about all of this. It's more touching, is more, I know how when I listen to them, I feel good, even though there's lot of cases that are sad story or sad, based on sad events.
Thank you. Thank you both. That's a really a lovely and detailed response, and it sort of reminds me of something that I keep close to my heart, this idea that there is no love that is not an echo. So I think that that's rather beautiful. And I wanted to come back to something that Sarah said, and just to connect it with the points that you were making, June, where Sarah was talking about how important this project was, or how interesting maybe it was to her, surprising to that this part of the project was really very much focused on humanity, and rather than the technical aspects that maybe the other parts of the project were focusing on with respect to food security or insecurity. And that was a really important part of the project for us. There are a number of questions that have come in, and I want to make sure that I get to those too. So maybe we can come back to some of the challenges that you might have faced, June, when working with me and others in the project, where you are crossing those different disciplinary boundaries so that we could try to talk to each other in our different languages. The questions that have come in are really lovely. There's some of them are remarks rather than questions. Two questions or remarks were just how beautiful and powerful this project was, and that this project was quite an emotional project. And both of the questions to which I'm referring, and perhaps we can bring in Hadi and Sarah on this, talk about how they want to know a little bit more on your reflections on the role that art might play in the context of conflict, loss, and trauma. And in particular, the second question is, how can art in conflict and displacement hold those who need to be accountable for the loss and sufferings, in your opinion? And how can art uplift the social cohesion and bonding among all Syrians in and out of our own Syria, regardless of their affiliation? In other ways, how can we use this kind of art to bring people together for healing and create some sense of collective hope? That's quite a lovely message, I think. And I wonder if perhaps Omar and Hadi and Sarah might like to comment on that first.
Maybe Hadi, if you can reflect on that.
Yeah, sure. I think like, oh my God, just the word just ran out of my head. It's more like an identity for us. I mean, after the war, all of us, we're trying to look for ourselves, like who we are exactly. And like for me, I've been out of Syria for 6 years. So Syria for me and all of that is just a memory. Like it's just a memory. I mean, it's sad sometimes, but it's happy sometimes. So it's complicated. And even for the people who lost their, like, they're still in Syria, but they lost their lands, like people from Damascus who had to move to Idlib in the north of Syria. That make us really look deep into our culture, like, and looking for it to know ourselves more, because for the last 14 years, and like the regime, all they was trying to do is to make their self as a regime the holder of the culture and the protect, and the I mean, like they were trying to change all of the culture and the memories of Syrians to just be suitable for them, to just be more, let's say, acceptable for them. So like I'm also interested in the heritage in general, in like in Syria, the music ones. But I don't know, for me it was really nice that I try to explain more about what does it mean for us when we hear, or when we like how we react to a very like familiar memory, or sound, or smell, even like how you really react, how the emotion in your head start to mix between sadness and happiness, and like all of that. That was exactly the much interesting thing about the project. I mean, I don't know.
Thank you very much, Hadi. What do you think, Sarah?
In fact, I see art as the only thing that I can use in order to get what I want. I feel it's like a weapon that is effective weapon, and it's more effective than anything else. I believe that art affects people more than other forms because art is something honest and it's something that comes from our hearts and it reflects our values, it reflects what we believe in. And when art is not based on honesty and on what we believe in, people won't accept it, won't feel it, and won't be interacting with it. So I believe, yeah, I can convey suffering through uh, through my work, through paintings, and it will be more effective when I base my work on the collective memory. The details of the story might be different, but ultimately we've been through the same experience. As long as I'm honest, others can understand my work and my work will be able to touch them. People will be able to understand what's happening in Syria through our work. Also, our art can show the extent of the violence of the regime against us. The regime can silence the news, but can't silence our art. We can reflect the violations that happened in Syria through our art. I believe it's a holy message, especially now, because it's a form of documentation. Everything around us is messed up, everything is distorted. We're losing many of the details about what's happening around us. And we are the only ones who know what happened exactly, so we have to say it in any way that we know to do, whether it's paintings, music, dancing, and it should be us to do that, no one else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah, with these touching words. Lisa, maybe we can move to the next question if there is.
Yes, there's a few more questions that I think that we can come round to. I suppose what while I have you all together, one of the questions that I was interested in, and you said, Omar, yourself, that you feel peaceful and happy. I was curious whether, and this might not be a question that Jun can answer, but it might be a question that you might be able to say something about. I was curious whether what humming and what hums look like. It's when you're humming in the present and you're looking back into and it's recalling these memories. Do the hums themselves change in nature? Do they become more melancholic? Do you transform the hums? As in, if you were, so while your memories of those things that you might be recalling may be of joy, of peace, of a lovely memory, is the hum itself changed in and of its nature? Is it a more melancholic hum that you might have had than if you were humming this in a different time, in a different place, in a different moment? Would you like to comment, Omar, or
yeah. Maybe you're right about. I don't know if it's like our ancestors or our parents would also have a memory and they will consider them, they will listen to them and they will bring them back to this. But it's more into kind of, also for many generations, is more like kind of going back, especially to after what's happened to Syrians, is like kind of, it's like when things happen like that, you go back and you try to recall all your life, what's happened, why this is happening to us, how we can, it's like first thing we think about when we leave our countries, like how we can participate. When now we left, how we can participate in building a better future for Syria. We are artists, as Sarah said, our mission is to deliver honestly our emotion, our practice, to serve that we want better future for our children, for our friends, for our family, and for the world. We don't want any kind of disturbed messages or contradicting messages. When you want peace, when you want love, when you want harmony, it's the same wherever you go. So also, like one of the response of this second response, Nermin, we always laugh about this song. She was singing a song, a very, very old song to her child about a bird that she's trying to make her daughter to sleep, and the song say that I will slaughter a bird for you so you can sleep. But you bird, don't listen to this. I'm not going to harm you. I'm just singing this so my child sleep. Then we always say it's so embedded in our memory, but like, why slaughtering the bird? You know, we always now, the new generation, the old generation, is say, yes, this is song. Why this bird is victim in it, we don't know, but it's kind of reflect also our reaction to our past, that this is now who we are, and that's how we can continue together with our collective memory. In this project, in this food topic, it's so important. When you see Syrian immigrant in France or in Germany, where there's a lot of them now, for example, we say in Germany, then you see when there's a lot of Syrians who used actually food to survive, where they open their own restaurants. And luckily, Syrian food is super, let's say, the whole region, not to say specific. So it's like all the food in this region is very popular and very delicious and so varied that presenting it in Europe had a lot of, success. And also for Syrians, like an immigrant who do a horrible trip to go to a city in Berlin, let's say, then go to a restaurant where everybody speak as if he did not left his city at first place. So it's this, I'm sure that's like this feeling he had as if would really connect him to continue his future, to build for future. You know, it's like the problem here for us, for the Syrians, people who lost a lot or who suffered a lot, you need to give him a motive to continue and to help in building a better future, which will come one day, I am sure.
Thank you, Omar. I want to move on perhaps just to a quite a technical question that maybe June, but actually others might be able to answer too, if you could. The question is about whether or not there's any melodic or harmonic commonalities or disparities across either responses, which deviate from the Western 12-tone scale. Is that would you like to comment? Do you want to start on that, June?
Yes. See, the short answer is that I don't know. The reason I don't know is because there are so many things I don't know. You know, there's some you say some people, oh, I'm a composer. You think that the composer knows everything about music, but actually no. The kind of anecdotal is that I was talking about Korean music to my supervisor when I was the master student. My supervisor, oh, Korean music, this and that, this and that. And then my supervisor tells me, you know that have you ever thought about that? I may know more about Korean music than you do. Then that stopped me right there. So okay. So I'll go back to the original question. One thing that I realized that there's a I was collecting these hums, and I was editing, and you know I was working on that project right here and you don't see it, but I have two speakers, and it's rather nice, the home studio. So I was playing the hummings that I was collecting and playing a bit loud, and I'm listening to it. And my wife was just walking by, and she stopped, and then she told me that, is it Korean song? It's because there is a very peculiar aspect. It has to do a little bit with the scales, and also there is a bit. It's not coherent like a 12 equal 12 tone scale, but there is a bit of skewed in somewhere here and there. And the way the Syrian people, they hum it, they what's you call it? They tuck the tune in certain way. That singing practice is very familiar to traditional traditional Korean song. There's a certain elements it's there. So we do share some commonality right there. And more than that, it's of course it has to the musical trait, but also there is a I believe there is a certain connection that I was able to connect, where how Syrian people sing a tune in a deliver tune in a in a more like a not direct way, but it's just like a killing a bird kind of stuff. The you say something but in different way. Or you say the kind of the happy song, but actually really sad. All of those elements. I think that's something that I was able to connect. So I'm not sure if I don't. I'm not sure if I answer your question, because I said it because I don't know. So, but yes. So if that that answers your question, I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question.
Thank you, June. Hadi, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you have anything you wanted to add to that from your perspective?
I don't think that I have anything to add here, because I mean, for what I did for the track that I've worked, yeah, it was sort of music somehow. I mean, I like, I don't know, like it just came on. Like, I don't think I have anything to add more. Thank you.
Yes, no, thanks very much, Hadi. I didn't want to put you on the spot there, but I probably did. So I'm sorry I didn't.
No worries.
But I'm just conscious that we're sort of kind of coming down to the end of this session now, and I want to come back just to the point that we started on, which was to situate this project inside a larger interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary project around food security and the future of food security in Syria. And I wanted to invite you, June, and others to comment on maybe some of the opportunities and challenges that you faced when you came into this project. You and I knew each other before the project, and we talked a lot, but we have different disciplinary languages, as I alluded to before, and we had to create not only new languages across those disciplines, but then also amongst different partners too. So I wondered if you wanted to comment around that aspect of the project before I sort of round things off and invite, I'm going to give you a fair warning here, but I might come to all of you just at the very end here, just for a few final sort of sentiments that you might want to share with the audience. So have a think about that while June is put on the spot with this question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. So I'll try to be quick because others might have a better answer than mine. I think the whole reason I was we were able to start is because that Lisa, you contact me then. So why don't you think about this way? Otherwise this project in this way would not have happened. What that means is that often I think it's a mutual trust is required between, say, traditional scientific communities and the researchers who are well versed in scientific language or those methodologies, from this the scientific research, and also of course the artists who do deal with a similar question in a very different way. The mutual trust is definitely required. But I think in the current situation, the way things are working and the way how funding is allocated, among other things, I think that trust coming from scientific community is much more needed. That's how I feel. One thing I can maybe bring the really well said comments by the Sarah. Art is powerful, and of course I knew art was powerful, but why that is the case? And I thought about this, and then maybe I can come up with just one answer at the moment. Maybe this will change, but we can document events, we can document histories, we can document and examine, perhaps examine things in many different ways. And art, in a way, it's one way to do it. But by doing so, I think art does it in its sometimes it does it in its most rawest form. So hence the artist is on the one hand most vulnerable, but also on the other hand most powerful. So why I think the art can be easily used by as a propaganda, because it's so raw form. But hence, that also means that why this art is so powerful. If we have a understanding of this power of art and how it is trying to attempt to document events and trying to get to some of the essence of what's happening. If it is well understood, not well understood, well trusted between, at least between the artist and then the research communities, then we would get a lot more done, and not a lot more, but a lot more significant, things that we can do. Yes, I will stop there.
Thank you, June. It's a nice place to stop thinking about trust and vulnerability, I think. I'm going to turn now just to each of you just in the last few minutes and just ask for any last reflections you might have, and you're welcome to pass if you don't want to say anything. But I might start, Hadi, with yourself. Any last comments that you want to share with the audience or with June and Omar and Sarah and myself?
I just want to thank you all about this gathering. It was really important for me also to know you as who was behind this project in person, because you guys are amazing. I also would like to say that I hope there's gonna be hope for us, or like for all people around the world who's suffering. And I don't know, I hope also one day we will have you all in Syria somewhere, like just drinking something and eating somewhere else, like in Damascus or anywhere else. Thank you so much, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Hadi. That's really lovely. Sarah, can I come to you next?
I would like to thank you for this project, this beautiful project, and for inviting me. I was really happy. As I told you, for me, this project was one of the most important things that I worked on, and I liked it. I really like the incidents that makes us get rid or discharge things that are troubling us and that we are not aware of. And I believe this project was therapeutic for me, therapeutic for me. And if there is anything else, I will continue with this project as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. That's lovely. Omar, I'm going to come to you next.
Thank you, Sarah. Lisa. Yes, actually, it's like I liked what also Jun said about the trust between the academy and the art. You know, it's like we're talking about memories and humming and all this. Like in the Arabic literature, they were used to describe the poems as a liar, because you always believe him. He's not always telling the truth. But here we will try to do our new version where artists are not liars, they're telling the truth, and also they backed by your wonderful academician.
Thank you, Omar. That's I've written that down actually. June, I'm gonna give you the last word, please.
Thanks, Lisa, and I mean, I should thank Cara, and again, all the technicians are working behind at the moment, and all the translators, giving the best translation as possible while we are speaking. I'm speaking faster right now, isn't it? So and thanks everyone, and more than anything else, thanks Omar, and thanks the Hadi and Sarah and the all Syrian artists, and those who have helped us to collect hums. The COVID has put on quite a lot of challenge for all of us, but most devastating way in the Syrian communities, the Syrian refugee communities. Sometimes I feel that as an artist, I feel helpless. You know, I think I mentioned this to Lisa at some point, and I feel like I'm worthless. What does art do? If you're a doctor, you treat people and you know, give them life. If you're a banker, at least you can make money. You can give them money. What does art do? You know, what does artists do? So I have had this question for a long time, and I think the Syrian Homing Project is one of the things that I realized that art can do something interesting, and but not only interesting, but something significant, and so we will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, June. Thanks to everybody in this session. That's a lovely place to stop. I want to thank Omar, June, Hadi, Sarah, and everybody involved in the project. And thanks very much to all the participants who were listening to this session. It's been a privilege to be working with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next response in the Syrian Humming Project. With thanks very much, and I hope everybody has a lovely evening. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, I hope. Bye-bye.